Linda, do you have the sound on?
Where you filed?
We're still waiting on it.
Notarized and it's in their possession.
It's in Tammy Whitmire. Jimmy Franklin is on Zoom with us, so he is present. And although he's had an upgrade in his field. All right, we will go ahead. Uh-oh, we lose
He
Jimmy.
didn't like that.
He's out of town. He's literally out of town. That's fine. All right, we're gonna see if we can get Jimmy reconnected, but we can go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and call to order the June 13th, 2024 regular council meeting for the town of Tallulah Falls. And we're gonna start with a moment of silence. Amen. All right, I need to get sorry, guys. Need to get a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Scott makes the motion, Mike seconds, all in favor, it's unanimous. Now I need to get a motion to approve the consent agenda. Scott makes the motion, Mike seconds, all in favor. Unanimous, well. Unanimous of those present, sorry. Jimmy's not with us still. Yeah, so we'll let Jimmy connect, and it's fine because we're gonna go ahead and go into let our special guest speak. Jolie has our fiscal year 2023 audit report. And we will let her walk us through what she has. And then we will move forward.
Okay, great. You have the audit actually in front of you in the blue cover. I'm gonna refer to a few pages, but I'm mainly gonna go over the graphs. And I will refer you back to these pages. Everything went well with the audit. The only finding is the same that we've had, and that's just because of the small staff and Linda doing everything. You've got the segregation of duty. And it basically just kind of serves as a reminder for mayor and council that you all need to be stepping in, and you are doing so. So, but that was the only finding we had. The first thing we're gonna look at on the graph is the government-wide, how you did government-wide. And if you were looking in your blue folder, this coincides with page 4 and 5 of the financials. So you'll see right off the bat, the revenues, at one point, a little over 1.9 million for fiscal year 23. Of course, that was up about 281%. And about 1.3 million of that, was the school zone revenue. So without that, revenue still would have increased, but a smaller increase of about 24% if we would have taken that school zone revenue out of there. So this is government-wide of how you did. And then expenses actually decreased for fiscal year 23 by about 4%. So total expenses across all funds were around 541,000. You're gonna I also just have some graphing, just so you can see like a 7-year history of your revenue. And you'll see that on page 5, and then behind that is also a history of your expenses. And again, this is government-wide total across all funds. And then on page 7, I wanted you to know, this is a summary of your total revenue and what makes up your total expenses and kind of the percentages of that. Of course, the revenues are kind of skewed government-wide because of the school zone camera, so that is 75% of the revenue currently. Taxes make up about 14% of total revenue. And then you also have some water's like 3%, and in governmental revenues, which are grants in your SPOS and your T-SPOS, makes up about 7% of that. Expense wise, general government makes up about 39% of total expenses. And I would say public safety with police and fire, that's about 38%. And then water is 18% of total expenses, with streets and public works at 5%. Some other financial highlights government-wide to think of is that the town remains very liquid. The cash at the end of fiscal year 23 was over 1.7 million. It's actually 1,782,396. And you also have some short-term CDs of over 600,000. So very liquid, still no debt, which is great, really remarkable. Continue to invest in capital assets, and I know there's still a lot of projects, especially water projects, that you're looking to do. Since 2018, there's been a 15% increase in your capital assets, primarily to the water fund. The largest portion of your net position, or your equity, so to speak, is restricted for public safety due to the school zone. So about 39% of that is restricted for public safety use. About 28% of it reflects your investment in capital assets. You have less than 700,000 that's considered unrestricted. The rest of that equity is restricted for either for capital projects due to SPOS or T-SPOS, or the public safety. Any questions on the government wide?
Yeah, the 1.7 million liquidity on the top.
Yeah.
Is that including camera funds or not?
Yes, yes. Yes,
I just want to make sure.
yeah. That is. Next, we're gonna just talk about the general fund, and this in the financial statements refers to page 6 and 7. And if you would turn to page 7, I think this will give you a great information as far as what the school zone camera, how it's divvied out. So you'll see the school zone camera fund and the total revenue there of 1.3 million. You've got your SPOS at over 45,000, and then your T-SPOS, which is over 26,000. Your non-major governmental funds, that's ARPA and a little bit of hotel motel. That's over 50,000. But general fund itself, the total revenue was 449,328. And that is actually up from 22. It's about a 30% increase in revenue over fiscal year 22. The expenses, however, there was not much of an increase at all. As a matter of fact, there was only like $29 difference between the total expenses in 22 compared to 23. So those were at 395,348. Any questions on that? Of course, in the general fund, the majority of the revenue is coming from taxes, property taxes, the most, 60% of the majority of revenue is from taxes. About 86% of that is property taxes themselves. The remainder, comes from your charges for services, which includes your fines, licenses, and permits. And then you have your grants. and some investment earnings. Expense wise in the general fund, again, general government makes up the majority of that at 51%. You have police and courts at 42%, fire at 3%, and then your streets, public works at 4%. And just some highlights of just the general funds since fiscal year 2019, the property tax revenues have increased by 25%. Expenses for general administration has increased by 16%. Police and courts have increased by 14%, fires increased by 80%, and the public works and streets has increased by 27% since 2019. Transfers to water have increased by 14%. Actually, there was no transfer to water in fiscal year 22, but there was in 23 of about 32,300. The average monthly expenses in the general fund are run 32,946 a month. And that was within $3 of what it was in 22. The only thing that's changed is the liquidity portion of it. So with the cash and with the short-term investments in the CDs, you have about 18 months of liquidity in the general fund. Any questions on that? Okay. The next thing we're going to do is talk about the enterprise fund, and you'll actually find just those statements on page 11 and 12. And doing the graphing, the revenues for this fund were just under 60,000, actually 59,590. The revenues did decrease in the water fund by about 20%. Expenses also decreased by about 13% in this fund. Self-sufficiency, this ratio just gives you an idea of the water fees, the water revenue that you have coming in, how much of that is covering the expenses, the operating expenses of the water fund. And so in fiscal year 23, actually 59% of the revenue coming in is covering the operating expenses of the water fund. So the rest of that you're making up by doing the transfer from general. The capital ratio, we run this just to, so you have an idea of the percentage of how much you're investing in your capital assets, your infrastructure. That's at 66%. Of course, the higher the ratio, the better. In 21, you'll see that actually went up to 71%, and you all had some grants that year that specifically targeted some water projects that you were doing. In this fund, since 19, the water revenues have increased by 96% and expenses have increased by 65%. Most of your water improvements have been funded by SPLOST and ARPA and the small grants that you've been able to get. The average monthly expenses in this fund are $8,317 a month. And the liquidity in this fund is about 8 months, so still very good. Any questions? As you're going through this, if you have any questions, and our numbers on the front of the blue cover, I'm going to leave this copy for Jimmy because I don't forget. If you have an extra one, do you? Yeah, I can make a copy. I'll leave it for him. Yeah, I'll leave it.
So one thing I would ask your opinion on would be setting the camera public safety funds aside, because they are restricted in how they can be used. Are we still on track
Yes,
as
so
we have been in the past. We're still in the black, we're still
you are,
running well, we're still, because that can go away
right.
anytime.
So government wide, without that, your revenues would have been up by 24%.
By 20, okay.
What's that 24% increase in revenue that was not related to the counties?
Where is it?
What made that up?
That
Well,
was probably an increase in
In-
millage rate.
In the millage rate?
well, the property taxes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, property tax.
And then you also, you're getting T-SPOS, that started coming in, and also, the SPOS revenue is part of that as well.
That's part of that as well. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we have a situation where there's a new law that passed and has been signed that's gonna restrict property assessments to no more than 3% per year, I believe. The assessors are being accused right now. I don't know if this is true or not. I haven't looked into it. Assessors are being accused of front loading and giving people higher valuations this year, knowing that the new law goes into effect in January. So I've heard several people say that their property values increased drastically this year as a front runner. Now, she's talking about last year, obviously,
Mhm.
but I just want to kind of let you guys know that, yeah, there's some interesting accusations going around. We have nothing to do with it. We don't assess anybody's property. So, but yeah, there's gonna be a limitation from now on. At no more than 3% per year, so.
Can I ask two questions?
Go ahead.
You mentioned the liquidity is about 18 months. What do you typically suggest for a town like ours?
Oh gosh, I
I mean,
mean,
what do you see? What ranges do you
most
see?
struggle to have 6.
Really?
So 18 is very, very good. I mean, you need time to react.
Sure,
You need time
sure,
to know
sure.
you have a situation and then you need time to react. So I think a minimum of 6 months for sure.
So if I heard the numbers correctly, and I'm trying to look at them on my phone and hear what y'all are saying, roughly $640,000 is liquid. And then I think we have some other bank account information. What is our SPOS situation? What are those numbers? Are they on here in my little thing?
Well,
That I can see what our SPOS money is because we all know we pay taxes for services, so y'all are doing a great job on deciding where those monies need to be spent in the future.
for capital projects,
We have,
what's reserved for that at the end of 23 was 366,107.
if you look in our current,
The financial.
financial report for
They're all.
this month,
I'll look at that.
it'll be in there. But the one thing we need to keep in mind is that while we've always talked about having a surplus laying around, we never could imagine how we would need to use that until COVID hit. We got to see firsthand why you need to have liquid assets and be ready to be able to shut government down because we're not getting anything in return. Not really shut government down, keep government running when the economy shuts down. So, yes, I'm glad we're still in that same, we've been there. Thanks to Bradley Brown and the council from the late 90s, they kind of helped push us into this position. I just want to make sure we continue to carry that forward as much as we can.
And of course, around 49,000, less than 50 is ARPA money. And that needs to be obligated by the end of 24, so end of December 31st, 24. So
Spin it on the
we
water.
obligate
Spin
that.
it on the water system right now.
Have we expired the Haversham spot? I'm trying to find it.
No, I don't think we have. I think it's still a little bit left in there.
No, we've got,
Some of them have Haversham's lost, yeah.
in SPOS 6, we've got 88,000, of course, 43 of that's public safety, 4,300 of it's public facilities, 25,000 park and rec. SLOSS 13, we've got 38,879, which is for roads. 19, we've got 86,475, we've got roads, 29,000, 50,000 in public buildings, and just a little bit over 3,000 for water. SLOSS 7, we've got 122,180, and half of that's for public safety, half for water, but, of that is, like I said, we've only collected so far 122 of that. We're supposed to get a total of, hopefully about 220. And half is water, half is public safety. T-SLOSS, which of course is all roads, we've got 45,520 available. And that's all.
So with the public safety SPOS money now that we could possibly look at shifting that bucket over to other departments if necessary. I'm just don't know.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We don't want to disenfranchise the voters that gave us that money for public safety
Right.
necessarily, yeah. But, yeah, we saw some other projects we need to take care of. We've got, I really need to go back through our wish list, how we prioritized some things last year. And, look at
It's looking good.
pulling that back together. And then, yeah, even the, Parks and Rec. There's a situation that has changed that may give us a new location for the kayak rack. But we'll announce that once we make a decision as to whether or not that would work or not. So, once that project's done, that frees that money to be shifted to something else, so. Anyway. All right. You have
Great questions.
anything more, anything?
No, Linda's working on the new software, so you all invested in the new software and so we're excited to see that. I'm hoping to come up in July and we're gonna get together and sit through that, but I think she'll see some efficiencies. There are some quirky things. We were talking about that, versus QuickBooks.
Right.
Um,
I was just gonna ask your opinion, because I've dealt with QuickBooks. I know my opinion about QuickBooks. I see someone shaking their head in the audience about QuickBooks. So, I'm hoping that this is really an improvement to our system, because, yeah, QuickBooks can be a pain. So,
You're not.
okay,
How many accounts do we have?
Oh, God. Yeah.
all right. So it's a good investment on our part, I hope.
No, I think it will be, I think Linda will see efficiencies with property tax bills and water bills. I mean, that should kind of ease up.
Water bill thing is awesome. Yeah, we launched that last week.
Yeah.
That's really exciting to me, myself.
So, yeah.
All right.
So all is going well. Do you all have any questions for me?
All right, well, then we thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, we appreciate your hard work. I can't imagine what that's gonna be to compile. All those numbers, I'd be cross-eyed by now, so.
This next year is gonna be a little interesting, because it's gonna be partially in QuickBooks, and partially.
Yeah. All right,
That'd be good.
But
all right, well, we thank you, and
Thank you all.
we'll see you next year.
All right. And there's some, there are some extras.
Okay.
So right here.
I've got to check all of that.
Thank you.
Bye, good seeing you. Thank you.
I'll see you.
All right, so next item on the agenda will be the attorney report. Nothing to report. Old business, none. New business, we have the J&D Urban. Am I correct on that? Presentation, they would like to revise their rating plan to create a different entrance to their project, so want to give them the opportunity. We're not gonna make a decision about this tonight. We're just giving them the opportunity to make the presentation, but you guys are free to ask questions. So, by all means, please.
Right, bear with me while I get some copies out for everybody. And you guys can keep these if you need to, we have, there's plenty. So. And I have more if we need.
Let's see, we have to see, since we've already talked about this, and, you know. about this.
So in essence, what you're saying is just a shift from usually just a few feet off the road. We discovered when the grading began that there was a junction box for electrical and for internet service that was right where we had originally put this dustpan inputs, right? Georgia Power and Windstream are capable of moving that. But there would be a disruption in service, and we don't know how long that would be on either Georgia Power side or Windstream side. And so in talking to Madison Tracking, I know he's worked with the town before. He suggested that we just shift the entrance and then basically merge it into the same area that the original design was set for. This way we go around that junction box. It doesn't have to be moved. We don't have to worry about any disruption in service. So that's in essence what you're looking at here. But I think the total, how many feet is it being moved? It's not even,
Less than probably 7,500 feet.
Not even 100
Because when we met with Georgia Power on site, when we were going through the 811 process, that's when we were talking about this may be a better solution for everyone, because if we go with the original plan, then all of the utilities will have to be moved, and that affects the entire Hickory Nut Mountain. And so this is an alternative to that, to shift the entrance up Hickory Nut Mountain, probably 50, 75 feet, to where the utilities can remain where they are, and then there's no disruption in any services to anyone. And also it provides for better visibility turning into the property and also exiting out of. And plus it's a little bit further away from Mary Beth Hughes, which we would think that,
she's the
you know,
nearest
that would
neighbor. I
be,
think.
that would be a plus too, because it's further away from her driveway. So,
And again, the original, like Marcia was saying, was right on a very, very sharp curve. So this moves it a little bit farther up the road. And also farther from Mary Beth's driveway, which would make it safer for her as well.
so here's comparison. If you want to look at them. This is original,
Yep.
this is new, yep.
So one thing that we're gonna have to do is get an easement from Johnny. I'm sure he's agreeable. So we can just draw that up, get him to sign that, but it's just an easement for this portion right here.
Which he's already indicated he's good with.
Yeah.
So,
A good part of the agreement on the parking lot is shared parking spaces in case this ever happens, you know, the rail's a trail idea.
right,
Was this easement, is there gonna be assigned to the city as well? Does that make any sense? In other words, the city owns this property through here, correct? Yeah, I mean, but the city owns that strip of line.
no, it's on the original.
All I'm saying is that, well, I guess we could be on the trail, straight across there.
You could. That actually might even be more ideal to be outside of the
Yeah,
drive.
you know how, the idea, I'm not saying. You know, right through the park.
Yeah.
To his point, yeah, I guess, well, there is some stuff about
parking spaces.
Right, so you got that easement.
So that easement would have to also allow.
That's correct.
Yeah, public access.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's just-
everything in the mediation agreement, we're gonna include this.
Right, you're just gonna have to write it up to that easement first.
Yeah.
We got it, access to the easement,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I think the way I envision that's, they want the concept of it tonight.
Yeah. I just want. Yeah.
That's a good point. No, it is, yeah, because the entire, basically the entirety of this entrance, right, is outside of where we put the array. So it would have to start with that.
I'll tell you,
Ingress,
really, like,
egress.
someone could just put a gate across it.
But, right, yeah, that's. And then, so everything from. Okay, wherever it starts to turn. So like. I'm sorry. There's a station, like, let's say. People are saying, this whole thing's a little different, but basically everything from about here over with regard to the building is the same between the original and new. So pretty much from this line to over. That's all.
It's just this evening right here, just,
Yeah.
so you recognize the fact that people can get in.
Right. Yeah, I just meant there's,
Yes.
like, if you're doing a comparison, really the area comparison, it's just, it's really this line, for sure. Okay. Understood.
That we just.
And obviously, anything that you have to toss in, like, from a legal standpoint, that's what I don't know. Sure. Right? And so that's why we met with you guys. We wanted to be upfront about this and everything, just talk through it, try to figure out the best way to go about.
So I do have a question. Would you guys be open to the possibility of, because we're still pursuing the footbridge across the lake at some point. Obviously, that's why we wanted to have parking for the town in this location. Would you guys be open in including in your redevelopment, creating through the old railroad a bike and footpath in conjunction with this shift?
It would just be like a gravel path or.
Whatever.
We could pave, I guess.
Maybe pave something. Obviously, balusters probably put up, or bolsters put up, so the cars wouldn't try to enter into that section. But something to keep the grade on River Street as close to for bike and handicap traffic, so they don't have to climb the hill necessarily. So would y'all be open? to
So I think a part of
including
this
something like
new
that?
design, we're gonna have to use some filter and then come in and build up in that
Right.
area. Anyway, that's what we talked to you guys about on site.
Right.
So when you say you guys, understand, I don't speak for everybody.
Right.
But for me, it's yes. Absolutely open to it.
Yeah, the plan doesn't show any of the contours, so I can't tell what elevations we're at.
There's another.
We do have a topo.
Yeah. But the new one,
Not.
he hadn't designed that
No,
yet.
he-
Oh, it did
Yeah.
show the new, but it's.
We're not to that point yet, we're just here to,
Just trying to get an idea.
right, this is very preliminary.
Yeah, that's fairly gradual. I just went right here, you have to raise up. Well, I guess what Mike's saying is right here, just fill in.
Because they're not wanting to cut down because of the gas line in that area. And you and I both know the gas line might be shallow there. So,
And that junction lot, so
of course, we can always tell Toccoa they should have buried it deeply. I've seen the federal regulations on that. Yeah, they didn't. follow
They're gonna say
federal
too bad.
rules. No, I'll call the feds. They have to have 3 feet of dirt over top of their life, so.
But yeah, so our entire like rainwater drainage plan, the piping system and everything else is gonna remain the same. It's not gonna be impacted by the shift.
We just feel like that this will be the least invasive solution to where we don't have to cut utilities to the entire amount. We don't want to do that. I mean, we will if we have to, but we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So,
We could have called Georgia Power and Windstream and said, hey, move this thing, but we called you guys
Then
instead.
you're out of, so then they're out of power and internet for however.
Who knows how
yes.
long? Yeah, and that's
I
not,
did have a couple of residents express concern when they saw the agenda, when I explained to them the shift and what it would create an entrance that was 90 degrees to the road. They all of a sudden, they were like, yeah, oh, whoa, no, that makes sense. Yeah, that might be a good idea. So
honestly, that's probably the way we should have designed it in the first place. Because as opposed to running straight up River Street, like I can see people going into that parking lot just it's a straight shot, right? So I'm
It slows
saying,
them down.
so this way they have to take part of that curve and then turn it.
Well, and there's more of a division between the new relocated entrance versus Maragot's private driveway.
Yeah.
That way they're not
Yeah,
side by side, because we don't want our people turning in on her.
And people are not gonna be flying in and out, you know, because these driveways are pretty close to each other. So,
And that way it gives us the opportunity to be able to market better with, signage as far as, you know, this is where you need to turn in.
I appreciate that.
all right, any other questions, more input? We appreciate you guys bringing this to us and not just
doing it.
doing it.
So yeah, any questions, as always, you know, feel free to reach out to us.
And we knew this was a change in what we had agreed upon, so
Right.
that's.
I wasn't trying to do
That's-
anything
Talk about it.
deviating from the original plans. that we
So, yeah,
agreed
we
to.
will,
Yep.
we will go into executive session at the end of the meeting to discuss whatever we need to on making the modification and or whatever's on our, because, yeah, that is contingent. This.
And then with respect to the easement, any feedback that you're gonna give, like, I want to make sure we include everything we're talking about here. So,
And we'll be happy to go on the site if anybody has any other questions, you know, that helps you kind of get a better picture of it. As we met with, Linda and the mayor a few weeks ago, asked, you know, about this, and that's when the mayor recommended that we come to council on it. So we'll be
it
happy.
does
to go
help
with
actually
everybody
stand on that curve.
So that
And
power,
look at it.
Yeah,
that power pole sitting right here at this corner, right?
yes.
Well,
Yep.
it's.
Yeah, that power pole's been there for, should be right there, correct?
Mhm.
Of that.
So that's what was up to the junction box. Okay. Yeah.
In there.
What it does is it goes, at this power pole, all utilities go underground to go up up toward Internet Mountain.
Yeah.
At that location, so.
I think it should just be electric and
Windstream.
Windstream, the fiber optic. They hooked that up at that location. That's what.
Fiber optic
And they
and
ran
they
it
still
across
have,
the street.
and they still have, copper going up through there too, the phone lines,
Yeah, landline.
landline type stuff, so. So yeah, that'd be a potential disruption to service.
Yeah, because Georgia Power said in order to relocate it, if we did that, they would have to come on the other side of Hickory Nut Mountain with another pole and then go up that side for a couple more
Right.
100 feet and then across the property that
And then of course,
belongs
y'all are
to
getting
John.
power here somewhere to tie into y'all's project,
Yeah.
so that's gotta come from someone,
Mhm.
so. I'm
So
assuming,
having that pole right there is pretty handy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
see that, okay. Any other questions, any other thoughts? We will, like I said, we'll have a discussion a little bit later about the finer details. Do y'all have these?
I have plenty, so,
Yeah, y'all
I
can
did
keep these.
not
Yeah.
have one this size, I have a PDF, but that's it.
and if you want to keep
Yeah.
them, I have plenty of these too.
This includes the topo.
This is the complete set from last year.
What do you, is this enough or do you want to hold back to look at me? Yeah, you're the ones, you and I are the only ones gonna be able to read this.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you guys.
So one question, you said we're not gonna have a vote on it tonight.
No, we're gonna have a discussion with our attorney.
Yeah, we
gotta figure out the
detail.
Then he needs to speak with Matt and let's work out, we'll have to work out the details. We just need to make the final decision
Okay,
about.
so will we be like on the next council meeting, or will that be something that y'all will just communicate to us via phone call, email, or?
We'll communicate it with you. Yes, it depends on just how fast we get the details tied down, assuming they want to. And I don't, I can't speak for them in terms of what they want to do, right? But the idea is, okay, this is the concept, work on the, want to say y'all, Lord, work on the details. Not suggesting y'all have to use any particular lawyer, but I'm just saying we have to have something tangible we can look at to consider a vote on. And that's, so.
Essentially, we're looking at having to amend the agreement,
Right.
and that's why we need to. Get that part out, and so
I don't want to make it sound more onerous.
No, I just needed to know what our next steps were
Yeah.
gonna be, so that's why I asked.
What's your time frame for doing that?
it'd be good if we could have it next month. I think there's a good possibility we could, but. Depending on scheduling and time and any language changes back and forth, it could take a little bit longer. I've been through this before.
Do we have to vote on them? We amended.
Yeah, but I mean,
Is that what you're asking? I mean, is that conducive with what you were looking forward on a going forward basis?
yeah, I mean, just
For y'all's benefit and your benefit too, I mean, so we. They're not lengthy documents, there's an easement, for example, there's, y'all have seen the first amendment that we did to this, it's not overly complicated or long. Probably be something along those lines, but something that actually has a document that they can vote on. I think y'all would need to see it as much as they would. So I think within the next month, we can probably try to get that easement drawn up. And then I don't know if we just make reference to it in an amendment. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about all of this, the point y'all cut us loose to go forward on that. I think the documents I'm thinking about, we should be able to have together next month. They're not gonna be documented elaborate, I wouldn't think, yeah. I wouldn't think so, at least shifting an entrance by 75 feet. So, yeah.
all right.
Yeah, but we can not necessarily be, this something can be in touch with y'all, yeah, next steps.
Oh, yeah, in your packet. Craig, there's a topo that show that change, so.
Yeah, they might have been out, the new topo does, the topo doesn't reflect the new concept.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm seeing here. I know I've seen a topo, but anyway. All right.
And we can get that if you need it.
No, that's good.
Will that
We don't
change
need
your
it tonight.
septic? Cause I think the topo was the septic, so would that change anything to do
No, it
with
wouldn't, because the septic's gonna be off to the left. It wouldn't impact it. Where does the septic, where's it gonna cross?
Right here.
They won't need to cross.
Going up the
Hickory Nut.
parking lot.
Okay,
I'm assuming it's not gonna cross Hickory Nut, it's gonna go up the same side.
right,
Yes.
yep.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, just shift up.
So it'll follow an existing utility.
Yeah, you're just gonna shift.
yep.
You'll just follow the driveway.
Okay.
You see the utilities already running up the road there.
Graders. For his next job.
All right, unless there's anything else on that, we can move on. Next item on the agenda is our Hydro Excavators LLC Waterline Hydro Excavating. I'm assuming that's supposed to be $2,000, not this. He doesn't like to say, ARPA likes it.
Take care.
So. The, what's an S? Instead of a dollar sign. Oh, yours is a dollar sign, mine should have been an S. It didn't have the strike through.
Yeah, mine does too.
Yeah.
Yours has a strike,
No, has
just an S?
Yeah.
Ah. That's others. Yeah, probably yours is right.
It's probably has something to do with their pen.
Possibly.
It's an old typewriter.
She didn't hit the button hard enough.
It's right.
Yeah, so anyway, I'll get into this later in the mayor's comments. But we had hydro excavators, I had emailed you about that. Come up and we did some potholing up on Hickory Nut Mountain. Because of our conversation last month that we need to move forward with trying to figure out where this is, I went ahead and approved going ahead and doing this. So we need to get an official motion to use the ARPA funds to help cover that cost. Because this is for water line improvements, we're trying to improve a leak.
Yeah.
So,
And I'll make the motion.
okay, so Scott's gonna make the motion,
Second.
Mike seconds, all in favor,
All in favor?
and Jimmy. All right, thanks, Jimmy. All right, next on the agenda is a little bit outside my wheelhouse. But ties in a little bit. Eagle Advantage has been, unfortunately, as much as I like them and I like the people, I've worked with them. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tanya, it's been down since April. Is that what I heard? So our officers are having to handwrite citations. And Linda's having to import them by hand. And the whole idea is we want to streamline and reduce workload on as many people as possible. So Tanya has brought us two different companies with 3 different bids. Correct? Okay, so I'm gonna let you kind of walk us through since you've gone through it.
Technically, Linda has the numbers with her, but we have 2 different companies that we're looking at. Yeah, unfortunately, I love Eagle, the people are great, but the system is not good anymore. We can't do reports, we can't import tickets, we can't do anything. They're always saying it's our server, but our server's always, we reset it, but it is what it is. And,
Or so-
2 companies, one is, Interop, which is, a system I'm actually familiar with, I use it in county, and most anybody in law enforcement use Interop. They were the go-to company. The other one is,
Justice One.
Justice One. They came up today and talked to us. I said the process is a little different. I talked to some agencies that use both. A lot of them aren't very impressed with Justice One. They have problems with their IT also. Not able to get all of them. As far as pricing, it is a little different. Linda has all those, I've sent them to her. That's our numbers.
Yeah, she's got some numbers on this, so, yeah, just. So one question I have. Do these have the ability, or does our current software that you're using? One of the pain points with Eagle was it did not have access to GSP citation data to be imported automatically. But these all do. Did one of them by chance get DNR citations?
Get what?
Get DNR citations because they're using GSP servers.
I asked Justice One, but he said yes, but I don't
I don't know that that's true.
Yeah.
Because that's another pain point, because if DNR is using GSP servers, why can't we have access? I mean, everybody have access to that citation data.
Especially now, because they're not handwriting them anymore, they're doing it digitally, so it should do it.
So, but if we don't know that for sure, then both companies are still on equal footing at that, on that point, so. Because years ago, I offered free to Eagle to use my services to write whatever software they needed to make that connection, and it never happened. Because I wanted that DNR and GSP to tie in. And it just didn't happen for whatever reason, so.
So my court system interfaces with Eagle now, but my court system is owned by I3 Verticals too, which bought CJT. It was CJT when we got it. I3 Verticals bought that and Interrock, so it's the parent
So they're
company.
hand in glove now.
Yeah, so they're together. The other kind of the other big company that does the court side of it, works with the Justice One, so these are the two main players kind of that I know of. I mean, there may be a few others out there, but.
There's another company that's starting to try to get everybody, it's called Tyler. And
No,
I've heard,
no,
yeah.
I'll tell you from my personal experience, no Tyler,
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
Tyler. Sounds like she knows about Tyler too.
Yeah, I
No,
think some of the cities have actually purchased it, the county are having.
the county has been using Tyler for some stuff, and it's been giving me with the fire department so many headaches that people don't realize. No, I'm not interested in Tyler.
Like I say, the one that I mean, just me personally, I'm familiar with Center Rock, because I used it for, I was in the county, they were always great. I'm just not familiar with the other. As much.
Okay, before we get started on the cost, what is our current cost with Eagle? Just so I can do some comparisons, that's all.
$4,443.
Yeah, so what,
That's a year, that's the annual. We already own the software, so that's not a software purchaser.
Right, that's it.
Right.
so what we're gonna be looking at, what we're gonna get into in just a moment is that there are two different ways to price these. You either have an upfront cost for everything, and then every year or you've got some upfront costs to get integrated, and then you have a per citation charge after that. So Eagle just charged us one flat rate, didn't matter how many citations we wrote, what the cost was, whatever. That's why we went with them to begin with years ago. But the pricing model, as you know, is changing, and Linda's got way more of that information based on historical data, how many citations we write, what the overall cost would be, plus we really need to revisit our citation amounts, our fine schedule, because they haven't been updated quite a while, and that can help offset some of this cost, especially on a per fine basis. So keep that.
Did Justice One send a per citation in? Or just the other? Okay.
Just the flat fee.
I thought they were gonna send both.
The reality with Eagle, it's no matter what we pay, it's not doing what we needed to do.
Not
So-
anymore.
They
Yeah,
can't access like NCIC and things like that, criminal histories and all that. We've never been able to access it.
Yeah, and what Eagle did when we first got it, one of the great things about Eagle and any of the software is when you have officers in their vehicle, they enter the driver's information, and if there are warrants, there's a big red flashing light that says, hey, this person has something going on. But if you can't access it, you got no clue. And so now our officer doesn't know if he might be in danger walking up that vehicle. So, yeah, it's Eagle, like I said, I love them to death. I like the people. I've worked with them personally. Their business model just isn't working for us anymore, unfortunately. So,
So Tanya talked to, both companies and they updated their proposals from the ones that I sent by email.
we sent two.
Did I, okay.
I got a second.
You got a second, okay, so. I think the latest and greatest is. Interop, if you did the one-time fee. $48,025. Then, there'd be $7,600 a year. For support. The other option with interop, reverticals. Was an upfront one-time fee of $10,025. With the estimated annual citations of 1,200, we were at 1,025 this year, so. A little bit higher than usual, but, with a $16 per paid citation monthly subscription rate. So that would be 19,200 plus the 1025 for the first year. And then Justice One, they changed theirs. I think the one I sent by email said 900 a month. No upfront cost. They revised it to 750 a month. So that would be annually, which is 9,000.
Drastic differences.
Yeah,
So,
well, there's some upfront costs with, interop.
with both, yeah, both
We need to work out.
options. One is big upfront cost, the other's smaller, but annual.
What would they make off the citations at that rate? You know,
Right.
roughly, or you told me that that's
Based on their estimate, it'd be 19,200
a year,
a year.
and that's what we're averaging, right?
Well, no, we had 1,025 this year, so. 16,400.
So, yeah.
But if we can offset that by changing our fine schedule.
I mean, we got the funds, I'm not worried about that part, it's just if the funds go away, then.
Well, yeah, that's what we
Yeah,
have to
that's-
focus on, is if the
Not
funds
worried
do
about
go
that.
away.
Smart thinking.
And could,
Because we know there are elements out there that would do away with it instantly, so. And others that would just hamstring us. So. We want to hamstring ourselves a little bit. About that later too.
so the annual cost, is anywhere from 76 on the big. Is it 76? Yeah, 76 a year. With the big upfront cost. To possibly as much as 19,000.
But that's
9,000.
tied into the number of citations, right? A flat.
So basically, it's about 3.5 years. You'd get that upfront fee paid off, then they would just be, then it would break even. So I'm trying to do that. With their big upfront number of 7,600 annual maintenance. But after that, they would sort of break even and they would start making more money, so I got. She likes Interop, I believe in what she says, I don't know anything about it. So Interop should be probably the way we go, it's just deciding on whether or not you wanna do the large upfront fee, we have the funds and that we can take care of. But at 7,600 a year. Versus the 10,000 up front, and then they'd be making revenue just off the citations, so it doesn't come out of our pocket at all. Would be 19,200, so like I said, in 3.5 years, that whole plan would just break even.
Yeah.
So the idea is setting us up.
So it doesn't really,
Eventuality that the camera.
we can use a big upfront with a camera.
Yeah, right now.
Versus if you do it long term, you may not,
Right.
that's all,
And you could
but it all.
pay a
comes out
lot
of
more
citation.
annually if you did it
Yeah, that's coming out of
by
citation.
citation.
And if you increase your citation, if you really look at evaluate that.
Yeah.
Right,
Tanya's
you know, reevaluate that, what we can charge it, you might could cover that cost.
No, I'm gonna have, some numbers covered. With product.
So the answer I have is, I don't know, either one's pretty good, I mean, it doesn't really matter, just the way you look at it all.
I mean, at 7,600 annually, that's 475 tickets, I think, even on a horrible year, we do more than.
So the real question is, let's say we pay for everything, whatever upfront costs are on. Camera money goes away, which one is self-sustaining and less cost to the town.
The 7,600, after 3.5.
Yeah.
And that sounds like,
If it stays there and they don't increase the rate.
oh, they'll increase the rate, but they're gonna increase it on both of them,
Yeah,
so. So that, to me, sounds like a wise decision.
Yeah.
I kind of future proof ourselves.
I mean, Justice one's not even running. I'd rather go with something she prefers and is comfortable with. If we were. About the same as far as. For the your system, your cars, and Justice one versus, three vertical, same thing. Is one longer. It sounds to me like Justice one is a smaller.
Like I say, I'm just not familiar with them. I wish Eagle would do the right thing, because like I say, I like them, but it just can't function with them.
how long is the contract?
Probably a year at a time.
So it's subject to change each year. I mean, if I pay that big upfront fee, I would want it to stay that way for a while.
Well, typically, we can't sign agreements that are more than a year at a time, but we can
I
do
gotcha.
automatic renewal. For up
You
to-
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. You pay them $56,000, you can keep it for 1 year, and then you see.
Oh, 2 years? Oh, okay.
So we can only go 2 years.
They can't exceed the term of office. Which, because we have elections on a staggered schedule every 2 years, anytime there'd be an election. Term is.
So there's a slight risk with taking the larger down payment and paying it because of the fact we can't guarantee them over 3 years, 4 years. It's just a slight risk, but it's there.
You can have it set up to automatic renewal count. That's usually how you do it once a year.
All right, so then if we can do that, then I would go with the larger down payment, do the steady 7,600 a month. Is what I would recommend. If you can guarantee 3.5, 4 years at that rate. If not, you're losing money, you might have to do a citation. In case they change the rates or something. Right.
They've got in there minimum 36 month service.
That's a bonus right there. So,
They've also probably got mandatory indemnification of the whole harmless.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's state statute, there are some laws that apply to this. There's state statutes that are gonna, what we can do. Kind of give us an interesting out, should something happen. All right, then,
Well, I'll make a motion, we do the larger upfront cost of the 7,600 a month with the 36 year.
And I'll second it.
all right, all in favor?
In favor.
Okay, Jimmy's in favor. All right, so just so we have it on the record. How do we want to fund this? I think I know the answer, and just someone make the motion.
I'll make the motion, it comes out of our public safety fund.
All right. I second. Mike seconds, all in favor?
In favor.
And Jimmy's in favor, all right. All right. Next on the agenda will be our adoption of our fiscal year 2025 budget. We have had one hearing on it. I do not believe there were any changes since that hearing. So any other discussion about the budget? All right, then I need a motion to adopt our budget. Mike makes the motion to adopt. Scott seconds. All in favor?
In favor.
Unanimous. All right, in your packet is the latest and greatest version of the agreement with Tallulah Falls School. We sort of discussed this during budget hearings about purchasing some equipment for law enforcement purposes. Most notably, there would be cameras to post around the school property that our law enforcement would have access to. The school would also have access to it. And this agreement kind of covers all of that. Kind of communicated some of that in the background, trying to get it prepared for tonight's meeting. So you guys have read through that. Do y'all have any questions, any concerns, any amendments?
Are you good with it, Warren? 25-year-old.
Well, his Nikki drew it up, I think.
No, just emailed it.
Oh, she just emailed it. Did we fix that? Cross through?
Yeah.
I didn't look, to be honest.
Oh, see, yeah,
No, there it is.
No, there's a cross through that we need to amend that.
oh,
The school had asked for, instead of reasonable amount of time, they asked for the 90-day
okay.
part. And I messed up when I sent red lines back, and that's my full cost.
Yeah,
In this document, we'll clean that up before we send it.
Yeah.
So,
You know, we've talked about this concept before. It's kind of been something that we've discussed for a while. So I mean, y'all sort of know both sides of that in terms of, this agreement. I'm okay with this agreement based on where we landed on what to do. I mean, y'all start to go write it up. And this is,
I mean, I had a lot of concerns at the beginning, but I think, through a little bit of time, you answered all my concerns.
yeah, and I know one of your concerns was about the data security and data access.
Yeah.
And one of the first things they told me was the devices we would be purchasing do not store any data. They collect it, then it goes to a cloud server that the school has. But we would still have access to that for this agreement, so.
I think that really puts my mind at rest. So I think
Yeah, they were very concerned about making sure that the town would not get caught up in anything that happened because of what they did.
seems I,
Right. And so they expressed that, I met with, Mr. Chester and, Mr. Barron both. And, they were very willing to make sure that we weren't gonna be put, that we would not be put in a position, compromising position because of anything happened due to their activities.
So if we make a motion to approve this agreement, the funds have already been allocated,
The funds have been
they're ready to go.
earmarked.
Earmarked.
We'll make a motion to go ahead and approve
Okay,
me
well,
signing. I've got two bids, a bid for two different projects.
Yeah.
That I can sign. I'll just get you guys to
with the amendment or whatever you have to do to fix this one.
get it, to take that one little strike through section out. Yeah, so.
okay, I'll make a motion to let Mike sign the agreement.
Yeah, okay. With that, okay, Scott seconds. All in favor?
I abstain.
Abstain. That's fair enough. All right, so
actually,
Now you have an issue. with it?
Now.
no, I didn't now. What? I would ask somebody to make a motion for reconsideration. So I want to add one other thing to it. It's more or less boilerplate. It should have probably been in there. Let's see. Offhand, so give me 1 second. Yeah. So entertain a motion to reconsider that decision.
Okay. We're gonna entertain a motion to reconsider. Mike makes the motion, Scott seconds, all in favor. All present. Agree, and then, assuming Jimmy's abstaining.
Abstain, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Okay, so. The next motion is gonna be the motion to approve, subject to actually two amendments. The first one is we're gonna remove that strike through. The next one is we're going to stick in. The paragraph, and we can call it number 14. And the number 14 is gonna say that the provisions of this agreement are severable. Let me put it this way, it'd be a severability clause. So that if any provision is deemed invalid, the remainder of the agreement remains in effect. So that would be the language of it, and that'll become.
So I can go ahead and make a motion then.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion based on two changes to it. One for separability and eliminating the strike through section.
Second, Mike seconds. All present.
Abstain.
Bruce and Jimmy abstains. All right, so in conjunction with that agreement, what we have is two projects. We have phase one US and a phase one M. Phase one US has a total dollar amount of $66,010.96 for the equipment. The school is covering all the installation fees. This is strictly for equipment that we will be purchasing. So we had gone ahead and set aside out of the public safety funds for the eventual point of this, but let's, to make it official, I'd like to get a motion that we cover phase one US out of public safety funds for the amount of $66,010.96.
I'll make that
Scott makes a motion. Mike seconds, all in favor. Those present.
Abstain.
unanimous. Jimmy's abstaining. All right, then phase one M will be for a total dollar amount of $63,835.15. Do I have a motion to cover that, to
I'll make a motion to cover the 63,835.15
out of the public safety
out of
funds?
public safety.
All right, Scott makes the motion, Mike seconds, all in favor? Those
Abstain.
present? Jimmy abstains. I will sign these bids tonight. You can deliver them to Casey tomorrow. I know he's anxious.
Sorry.
I'll get that signed first. Okay,
They're.
okay. Yeah, let me get a clean copy of that and take that over, get it signed, then we can have these.
You've got your approval on those, so you
Yeah.
can sign them at any point and just say, I've got it.
Yeah, we need to get the agreement, because this also covers some of what we did last year.
You think I need to just get the quote signed?
Yeah, I know. I know, they're chomping at the bit, they've got time constraints and everything else, so. Do what we can. All right, so agreement with the school. Next on the agenda is, the appointment for, Christy Shepherd on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I spoke with her, she is happy to continue if you guys are happy to reappoint. So Mike's gonna make the motion to reappoint, Scott seconds, all in favor? Those present.
In favor.
All in favor, all right. Next is our DDA appointments. I can't remember all of them,
I'll help you.
thank you. I can't remember all, I know Dustin's one of them,
Yes,
is Christy one of them?
no,
Okay.
it's me,
David's one of them,
Ann Urban, David Hart, and Dustin.
okay, and all four of you are willing to serve,
Yes, if y'all will have us, the four of those people who
to let us abuse them for another 4 years.
we'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
Have that.
We're happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he says he plants teeth. So, all right, unless there's opposition. Get a motion to reappoint all four seats.
I'll make the motion.
Scott makes the
I
motion.
second.
Jimmy says all in favor, everybody's in favor, we have a second,
Favor.
second, or a governor, so we'll go with that. All right, for the next two items, this is gonna fall into Craig's lap, so move on with that. Proposal for master planning services for a safety corridor project here on Main Street.
I don't know if everyone's familiar with it or heard about it. It's just,
The
you
DDA,
can look at it on that map. What's that?
the DDA knows about it.
Yeah,
so there's
DDA.
some- Basically,
Yeah, it's nothing. all I'm looking to do is, I've got an illustration there, but it's not a professional illustration, it's a Fred Weatherly illustration, so anyway. It was just put together to give an idea of what we can do in town. And I've got a better concept that I'm got some proposals on. It just creates a roundabout where the problem area is there with the street, and it creates a sidewalk around the corridor there. So you can walk from the park, you know, into town safely on a sidewalk, et cetera. That's basically it. It is increase the parking in town some, and there will be some drainage improvements with that as well. I've got two proposals. One proposal is more like a artist rendering. It's a cost, you know, it gives you something to sell for a grant or any, there's a lot of, properties that people that own, especially municipalities, also personal, also utility companies and DNR, that we need to present something that's presentable to be able to sell the project to them, if that makes any sense. So there's two plans here. One of them is basically a proposal for master planning services. It's around $5,000. It'll just come up with a composite drawing, like an artist rendering of it, to give you a little bit more, you know, let the average person be able to look at it and see what's going to happen. That makes sense? Okay, the next proposal, which I'd ask for, brings in the roundabout with a little bit more engineering study. This proposal is $5,000 for the architectural view that we'll see, plus $15,000 for some engineering scope. The engineering scope will allow us to actually put together cost. So in other words, they'll quantify all the separate items like curb and gutter, sidewalk, paving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you'll be able to itemize it, pull it out of the DOT database or whatever you want to do, and we can have an actual budget number that's workable. And then that gives you a better schematic on the idea of how you're gonna get the money. Does that make sense? This is a safety corridor project for me, so I'm selling it based on the safety funds.
Yes.
I just think if we had a more walkable, you know, more visibility, a better, you know, that's vehicle safety there, obviously, but most of it's pedestrian safety. Eventually, it will have a tie-in loop, if we can sell it, that'll tie into the Rails of Trail project that is separate from this. We aren't doing anything, it's separate, but it's an idea, a concept is tying into that trail, also the park trails. So when people aren't crossing over the road, they have a way to get underneath the bridge, they can see it, and they can come into town a little bit easier. And this all could change 100 times, because if the parties involved don't agree, and then it all goes away or changes, and it'll change many, many ways. I mean, you know, by the time we get it done, what I'm asking for tonight is okay to, I would really like to go with a more engineering study on the fact, and it's gonna cost around 20 grand to get us some actual plans, some actual data, so we can actually have a cost and have something to sell, so to speak, to the people that have to give away the easement and the right of way, et cetera. That making sense?
So the justification for this is that we're DEA is pursuing very hard the idea of the rail trail conversion concept, which would mean that we would have more foot and bike traffic on Main Street. We need to get ahead of that before we have a problem. And very few people actually stop at this stop sign. So having a roundabout naturally slows people down and helps mitigate that issue.
And it would be attractive too. It's not gonna.
Yeah, you can't turn left there. If somebody's coming in from
It's tough.
you cannot turn left. to go
It
to
is,
the highway.
right, you're right. So this would address a lot of that. We would have a center section that we could do some planting in or something and dress it up and make it look nice. So that's it. That's the justification for asking for public safety funds to help cover this.
And it would be it's called the safety portal.
And it really is. We're trying
That's
to
what it is.
increase foot traffic, but we need to make it safe.
So you've got the money already in SPOS to do it,
No, we're asking for the safety funds.
out of the safety funds, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually, the project is a safety project, and the overall cost of that project will exceed what we have in SPOS. So I would prefer to run it under safety the way it should be.
Yeah, we do have some other, what's that? Was it Waterville? The element, but it was a different element that we didn't have to match.
We really need that money for our basic.
Yeah, we need, a lot of that needs to be applied to the road where it's not.
You've already allocated the
Yeah,
money.
look, all I wanna do right now is a study. The costs, and then when the estimate comes up, we can discuss it further from there, where we get the funds.
Yeah, whether or not we need.
But this is just to actually get a good engineering study and a good itemized list of the items that need to be performed to get a cost.
Yeah, the money's there.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make.
I'll make a motion, we move forward with the engineering study.
With the 20,000.
Yeah,
That gives
the
us
second one.
architect and
Jimmy makes the motion, who's second?
I'll second.
Scott seconds, I got lost there for a minute. All in favor?
In favor.
Unanimous? All right, does that cover both of them?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, it's just 20,000. It's just, there's two separate totals.
Yeah, sorry, I thought it was a.
Yeah, that's fine.
Two-step.
Yeah, I saw it in the agenda, I didn't catch it in time.
One's about, what you said.
And there's a copy of this proposal, if anyone wants a copy of it, get it from Linda, please.
It's online.
It is, okay, good. Yeah, it's the second, so you can read what they're gonna
That's all.
propose. Okay.
And this is with Bruce Design.
This is what?
With.
Yeah.
All right. So before mayor's comments, we have one last thing.
I'm just, so Scott, to your motion, I mean, y'all made a motion to include a severability clause in there on that, so I wrote one out here. It says to the extent any provision of this agreement is determined to be illegal, invalid, or unenforceable by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remainder of this agreement should be severable and remain in effect. So that's what it says.
We can make a motion to accept that.
Well, I don't think we need to vote that.
All right, good.
Unless you object to that, no, we'll just move forward.
I
with
don't
that.
know how he even wrote it. I would be all
It's
good.
basically standard language, and so, I mean, you know, we can do. I don't wanna get, I don't wanna get procedural things that are right. We can try this a third time, do one more motion for reconsideration, or anybody that has a problem with that can move to reconsider the decision on that.
So he has student loans I can't afford to pay for to cover being able to write something like that, so I'm gonna trust that. All right. All right, all that being taken care of, that ends our new business, all of our other business, and we move on to mayor's comments. Number one, since I have all the council members here, don't forget, guys, we need to file our financial disclosure forms. And when I filed mine, Tammy sent me back one that was an affidavit of a candidate's intent not to exceed $2,500 in contributions or expenditures. And she wants me to send that back too. So if she didn't reach out to you guys with that, you may want to ask.
You
her
did it
about
correctly, Mike.
So, do what?
We did it correctly.
Did you? Oh, okay. I'm the only screw up. That's fine. I'm used to that.
On the record, good, Craig.
So. You guys. So. All right, then, want to kind of bring us up to date. We talked about the Hydrex coming out, doing some work today. We had the massive leak. We still have a massive leak. You see in the water report, agenda packets. We lost 600,000 gallons this last month, but it was a 5-week month, so. Still not acceptable, but an explanation. So Gary worked with hydro excavators this morning. They did some potholing up in the area. Let me back up, take a step back. So Bill Gocher and Gary got together with me. We went up and started diagnosing, trying to isolate some section of the water line where the leak may be. We decided that based on flow rate through the meter at the top of Hickory Nut, when we close the valve at Barbara Rice's property, there's a pressure tank in there. Close that valve. We're still moving 10 gallons a minute through that meter, which works out to about $400,000 a month. or 400,000 gallons a month, sorry. Gallons a month. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I about had a heart attack when I heard that, so we had HydroX come up, they did some potholing in that section, located and exposed the pipe. Did not see a leak obvious today, but there's a section of it that seems to be under the road. Under the pavement. We didn't want to cut pavement yet because we have 2 or 3 full-time residents in that area, and we don't want to tear the road up until we absolutely have to. So I reached out to Lauren today with American Water and sent him an email saying, hey, okay, now it's time for you to come up. You investigate, use your equipment. Let's see if we can isolate this down. If not, then the next step will be that we create a game plan for how to carve the road up in sections enough that we can get HydroX back up, do some more exploring, see if we can locate where the pipe is without disrupting traffic on the road too much, because I mean, just that big truck being up there could have been a disruption enough to the residents, so.
So did they trace the water line with the hydro?
They went as far
Go
as they
under the road?
could until it went under the road.
Oh, well, tear the road up. Let's get it located.
Yeah.
I mean, you put gravel down.
What size?
They've been driving on gravel for, I
At,
don't know,
A minute.
6 months.
3 inch.
3 inch, yeah.
We're looking at 3 inch. So, well, the problem is we don't know where it is, so I don't know how much of the road, we'd have to tear all the pavement at this point.
Yeah, maybe you
What I'm
get out
thinking
there
of
line
is-
is.
What I wanna do, if American Water can't isolate it in one of those sections we've already exposed, then yeah, I wanna cut trenches in
I
the
got you.
road until we locate the pipe, cause they have equipment they can attach to the pipe that will help narrow it.
Now, I know hydro, they're blowing water down in there, but are you seeing any visibility, any water coming up around the line?
Not yet,
So
but
it's not
something,
there.
but I noticed today that something changed. Because the Gorge View tank.
Yeah.
Lost
So it increased.
in a 12-hour period. What we have lost in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
So something changed today. Now I'll see how it reads in the morning. I'm gonna go back to the meeting tonight
And I reached out to like 2 or 3 water companies, nobody would touch it.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
So we're pursuing it.
Nobody would touch one.
Nobody had a crew available to come try to go find it.
And it's just, it's hard when you don't have. Used to, we had Bill and Gary, and they could dedicate their time to go digging stuff up, but we don't have that. And so we're trying to balance that out with bringing people in and meeting their schedules.
You need volunteers? I mean, I can walk on the mountain and look for wet spots.
Well, the problem is, I've been
Wish it
up
was
there,
that easy.
we've all been up there looking for wet spots. It's going somewhere else.
They're gonna have to get the professionals.
So we're gonna have to get
Yeah.
in, dig holes in there, but we don't know where to dig them.
Meanwhile, you're hemorrhaging money,
Yes,
hemorrhaging money.
hemorrhaging. I know where you got that term.
Yeah, how you gave it to me.
We are, but
How much? What's going
we're
on?
paying.
When did we turn on the Demorest? Roughly.
Is it 4 per
We've
thousand?
been on them for 2 years? Coming on 2
Yeah, but
years?
we had greater losses.
Hemorrhaging amount. Yes, it's a
What do
lot.
we pay?
Well, what is it?
I don't know if it's for 1,000 or for 10,000.
Probably
Per
2,000.
thousand, price per
I
thousand.
think it's 405 per thousand.
So 20 over
$4.
We're paying $405,
$4,
we're being charged $405?
4.0.
About 1,800 to 2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Wait, that's.
That's
No,
right.
I don't think that's.
No. That's usually 6,000.
Well, but they
It's
may
like point zero.
it might be
Yeah,
point
it's-
for point.
Yeah. it's not-
I just thought they went up and it went over the 4 level.
Yeah, 5.
But we've been on them roughly 2 years.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's what I thought.
So, so the break is not in the pipe coming up the mountain.
We don't know where the break is.
I thought you were talking about digging up the road up on the top of Hickory now.
They think it's there, but no, if we knew where it was at, we could fix it.
No, we want Demer's full.
We have a general idea of where it's at.
Why do you have a general idea that it's after
We know it's
water
above
hits
that,
the
well,
tank?
we
But
don't know
also, I
how
don't
that's
think
built.
we were.
I think it's above that.
No,
Above that
no.
pressure.
No, this
It's
is,
not like
this
we've
is
been
new.
doing
We
that
don't
the
know.
past 2 years.
No, this is new in the past like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Something happened 2 months ago, I think. And when I started having increased pump times. A lot.
So you're handling that, our staff, y'all are handling that versus American Water?
Yeah, because I'm here daily.
Correct, yeah, they're the
So-
licensed operators and then the
Yeah,
on-site.
but I communicate with them
Correct.
what I'm doing. I've also created a device where I can remotely, our pump's going up to the 20,000 gallon tank, which feeds Hickory Nut Mountain. Is on a timer. And so I'll go up or send someone up and they'll add time to that per day. And we're pumping way more than it should be hourly wise.
But Americans got scheduled to come up and start looking, right?
Well, I reached out, so we will have a schedule. Yes.
So they do it?
Yeah, he'll come. He's got equipment to do. Yeah, he's got equipment to do different types of investigation. The problem is when it's under a road, when you run into problems.
Yeah, so it's 0.00405.
0.004
Per thousand. 2,000 gallons.
per thousand. I'll remember there before.
0.004, we go on thousands on this week.
I figured it was per thousand. I just couldn't remember.
So you're looking at,
For my
like
decimal.
you said, 1,800, 2,000 a month, or 400, 500,000 gallons.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Which we went from like $2,000. Up to $4,000.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's-
But your general fund
100%.
rather rapidly,
Yeah,
isn't it?
we're at 100% loss.
What?
We're losing as much as we are charging. Currently. It's in a position where it's really hard to figure out where to go.
Well, let me ask this, if you can't identify the leak, what happens? I mean, what are what's the situation for the eventualities?
The general fund has to pay into the water fund to help cover that offset. And we don't want that
Right,
because we have other things we need to spend our money on.
right,
But we've already been subsidizing understandably the water.
Not by this much.
But by what, 42, whatever it is.
It's-
Well, this, for next year, we're projected to be 42,000.
Based on things that have been going on right now.
Based on normal circumstance.
So,
So the near future, we're gonna rock on with Demerara.
Hope so.
yeah, the cost to go back on, the cost to go back on the wells,
Sure.
the filter system has to be completely replaced.
Right.
I would have to probably rebuild my house multiple times for the people that had rusty water. After burning my house down. Everybody's really happy with the quality of the water, so it's,
So we're back to dealing with end of life on our wells.
Yeah.
well, we have some,
Well,
yeah, we have some issues with the well. I want to keep the wells. So I want to discuss this later, but I'd like to keep the wells active. And we have a way to do that, like we can pull all of our fire trucks off of this main well. And keep it active and the EPD would let us do it. That way, if Demarest ever says, hey, you're using too much water, we gotta cut you off. We have the option. To convert to back to the wells. I don't wanna have to fill them and redrill them later, so. Conversation for another day. But yes, we're working on it. Gary's here, he's working on it. We're doing what we can. We're just limited in manpower and time and how we can address it. We can't spend 24 hours a day out there digging. You know, I gotta work my full-time job and feed my.
oh, but you and Craig were out fixing the water last time it froze on Christmas Day, and so if you need some help digging a darn hole to help the community out, you know, I could probably.
We just,
dig a little bit.
I just need to know where to tell you to dig, that's the problem.
Well, I know, but I just, you know, there are times when you have to come together to solve a problem. This is a critical problem, you guys. This is a problem. You got a hole in your budget. You're bleeding. And you gotta figure it out, and it's a tough one to figure out, right? And there are gonna be consequences if you can't, because they're not gonna let you lose this kind of water month after month after month. They're not. Sorry.
Yeah, you have to report the law, yeah.
So, I mean, there are consequences for this, right? Right?
I don't know.
Well, nothing else you're paying, sir.
Huh?
Nothing else you're paying water.
Well, yeah, that is the obvious consequence. You know, people get really hacked off if you're losing hundreds of thousands of gallons.
Yeah,
A
you
lot.
can get that.
A month, you know, they,
At least
JTCs
we're not
don't like
Atlanta.
that.
I mean, Atlanta lost more than we did, so.
What was your?
No, I was just saying, so where you're at with that, you called American Water to come in, so.
Yeah, I've initiated the, what do you call that, a work order for them to get with us. We'll have them come out, do their investigation as best as their equipment allows, and then see what the next step is. We can only go as far as we can see at each step, so
And we
that's
did-
the next step.
We did have them come up to Gorge View and do a helium test
Yeah,
for leaks also, so we've been working on this for a few months.
Yeah.
yeah, Gorge View has a much smaller leak, and it has had it for a little while, but we've diverted resources to this one because
Yeah.
this one's massive, and we really need to get it taken care of. Just want to be careful how we.
Does anybody have a new spring on their property?
Yeah. Correct.
I have my well in.
I may have, well,
Is it that one down at the bottom by the?
it's been there since I lived there.
Yeah.
It's really flowing.
I don't know, it was pushing water a couple inches up in the air, that takes some pressure to do that.
All the people that have wells on the mountain, they test the water for chlorine, being in their reservoir.
You could. A negative result would not necessarily mean that it wasn't the city water going in. If you do, if people have wells up there, yeah, I didn't think about getting,
You still gotta track it down, where it's coming from.
yeah, but it
Yeah,
would
but
show that it's going to be.
Isolate the
Yeah.
location, so.
Yeah, it would be, let me see, it's not new, who's the new, who bought, Noam's property?
The
He's on
judge.
a well.
Judge.
The judge.
Yeah, he's on, the judge. The judge is on a well, and, Ray Morris is on a well, and we are probably filling their aquifer for them. But chlorine dissipates very quickly when it comes in contact with the earth or the ground, other things like that, it kind of.
And y'all are and obviously y'all are testing the chlorine at Denver's connection coming into the town.
Yeah, the August, Harry and his wife, they're testing the Bobby, yeah, Harry and Bobby.
But at the connection of the town.
No, not at the connection, at their residence, because it is the furthest location away from the connection. And tells us how much chlorine is making it all the way to the very end. And, actually, we have is that included in
We've done other tests.
No, I just.
also.
yeah, we got a notice from her today about a complication they had that's been straightened out. And, but our chlorine has been reporting fine.
It was with the test kit.
The kit was mistesting, it was showing chlorine levels at adequate rates before. Then she got new test equipment and it was way higher and she got concerned. And so.
Yeah, but American Water, I'm sure is testing at the Denver's connection into our town.
No. They're testing for American Water at the furthest point away from the entrance. Because then you know you've got chlorine all the way through the entire system. Don't care how much is coming into the system. We want to make sure we know how much is at the end of the system. At the furthest point away. There's no way to test at the connection.
Speaking of, can I ask a question, another question? Speaking of connections,
Oh, that's what
Denver's,
there's comments, so this is not public comments.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So Denver's is pulling out of Toccoa. We know how that's how the rodeo works. It's how the water's
That's
going
what
all
I've-
around the
So
song
on Lake
That's
Toccoa,
what
that's
I've-
correct, that's correct.
to get to us. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the status of the grants? Are y'all still working on grants for this? water situation or? Not pursuing those as of yet? I guess you gotta figure out what you need first before you go to get
I
grants.
don't know of any grants other than that ARPA.
That you could get, I didn't know if there were anything out.
I haven't, I've asked, Georgia Rural Water and they haven't really indicated that there's anything.
There's any grants out there?
Not that we would qualify for. So, but I haven't,
Chief has loans, but.
yeah, problems the loans. If we gonna get a loan, we may as well go ahead and pay for it ourselves now.
Yes, but you can get cheaper loans with contingencies in them based on what you're doing. I mean, I know the authority has gotten several GFO loans and had some principal forgiveness in them, which makes them really cost effective to utilize for public works processes, so.
We
And they
do
can
have,
do that for water line replacement. They're not gonna do it for.
Sure.
No, I agree.
and we do have, regional commission.
Non-regional commission.
Now has a division for a grant writer that can assist us if we want to pursue grants. So, they've been sending emails out here the last couple of weeks pretty heavily about that. So, no, we'll definitely look at any financing options we can, but we just gotta find the lead.
Sometimes you can't find it, you just have to run a new line.
And that's possibilities.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah,
There's nothing to
yeah, we ran a new line here. In fact, I spoke to American Water because, the line going from the pumps to the tank on Gorgeview. Because we're concerned of those glue joints. He said it might be worth attempting and he would have to try it once to see if it would work. Where they could, they could dig down, break the line in 2 locations, pull a new line through without having to dig the whole thing up. 20 feet at a time and go in with the polyethylene or whatever it is that they weld together. So there's that option.
Why don't they just put the joint locks on? Just dig up each joint, put the lock on it, holds it together.
He was. We can.
Yeah.
But he was saying it might be cheaper for us to see if we can pull and slip it. He doesn't know it. He thought
Who's he?
Lauren with American Water.
Okay, let's see
What
it.
size line is up there now?
I think it's 3-inch going up. I think everything we're talking about right now is all 3-inch. Everything, Gorgeview and Hickory Nut at the location where we're at. So
But again, we would need 6-inch for full fire.
for full fire protection,
6 inch.
we'll need 6-inch, but that's gonna. We need to get some bids in for some.
That's public safety though.
That's
If we
public
do that.
Yeah.
What, do you have any type of an estimate, any kind of an idea of what it would cost to run a new line up there?
Not yet. We've got a request we've been trying to put together and put out for a bid to have an engineering company come in and tell us what we need and where to locate it. What would be the best location and how big it would have to be, blah, blah, blah. And so,
The agreement has to be settled too before you run any new lines, just to let y'all know.
yeah,
Anywhere near Hickory.
yeah,
So
we need to get all
until this
this.
agreement can sign, none of that can happen.
Plus, there's other parts of the town that are not at 6 inch.
That's correct. So that much. Need to start up here, and we don't have an easement for the section we're hooked into.
Well, it wouldn't be, you're correct, it wouldn't tie into the rest of the system, but I mean, we could be studying how we can use these funds that are designated for public safety. I'm not naive enough to think that you can spend the money on water and call it all public safety, you can't do that. But I believe that if you try hard enough, there are portions of the system that you could use those funds for, and you could defend yourselves for fire prevention services, for certain itemized portions of the system, not the whole thing. But unless somebody were explaining to me why you couldn't do that, which I would be happy to listen to the explanation, but I need to hear it.
No, there have been conversations, we are working on increasing fire protection for Hickory Nut Mountain, which would also increase fire protection for the rest of town. As a result, we just have to take the baby steps to get each domino to fall just right before we can get to the next one. So it just takes time,
I just need,
but it is in the
I
works.
just need confidence that baby steps are being taken.
We're gonna take it.
Okay.
The bid is out right now, we'll have it till.
Oh, so
You'll have the
we've got
bid
a
in
request
July.
in the
There's your
budget.
baby steps.
There's your micro step.
Okay. Okay.
We are making progress as best. we
That's
can.
for the engineer.
Well, thank you for bringing us up to date on that. This is a tough problem,
Big problem, yeah.
you know?
It is, it's hard.
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
What is the status on the Cornelia discussion, what you can discuss publicly regarding the
I am
water?
Still waiting for a site survey to be completed. We've had a surveyor out. I saw his guy out a little while ago. I have not heard back from him, because we need to know where our property line is in one location before we can move forward with Cornelia. Because that's what that's gonna be our contribution to the project.
And aren't we also waiting for a response from Georgia Power too?
Yeah, we're waiting for Georgia Power. There are a lot of different elements in this that we're still working on, but the biggest one for us communicating and talking with Cornelia is that I need to know where the property line is, so I can have their engineers come out and say, yes, this is an adequate location. Otherwise, there's no point in moving forward. We need to find another place to put it. So, in which case we may not have as much to bring to the table as we thought. I want to make sure we have what we think we have. So. That's still kind of rumbling around in the background. It's not dead yet.
If I'm gonna ask a question, that's why we're waiting here.
Yes.
On River Street, I know that was widened. At one time, I heard this, they were gonna pave what is gravel. Is that true? That, extension of 2-3 feet on River Street that goes up, is that gonna be paved?
At some future point, the plan is to pave it. We gotta get trees out of the way first. We need what work was done to settle and compact and be ready. But yeah, that's eventually. Yeah, the intent is to eventually have that all.
We just didn't have the funds to do it all at one time, we just did the first step.
How, what's the length that you're gonna do when you do it? How much of the road will you improve?
The section that got graded and gravel.
That's it.
Yeah, well. It probably isn't quite as obvious, but basically from the rock
Okay,
that splits the road. Back to around Mary Beth's
That's gotta go around the curve.
and go up the curve just a little bit.
is there a time? Do you have a time frame?
We have some funds set aside for 2025, is it in the LMIG, is that right? Linda, so we assign that LMIG.
We do.
River Street. Yeah, it's in 2025 on there,
So that's next year.
yeah. But it will also depend on the amount of money.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, more public comment? We're in public comment. No waiting for Scott, Mike to come back. Go ahead.
Okay, there was a board meeting of the Rayburn County Water and Sewer Authority on Tuesday. They're moving forward with the projects that they've been talking about, the replacement of filters on the Lake Raven treatment facility. They're using 33% of their water overall throughout the entire system on the north and the south loop. So what we're really dealing with now is difficulties in the billing, trying to get the billing right. Communicating with the new clients and customers that the authority has. And I think it's gonna go very well. The multi-trade facility up there in the north end of the county that they burned wood chips and sold power to, and they have ceased operations. Yeah, the part of the facility that
Generates.
generated the power burning wood chips
Right.
has
Yeah,
ceased operations, yeah.
Yeah, because they needed water to run the turbines.
Yeah, that's been a significant, benefit, well, not necessarily benefit, but a change in the customer base of the authority, because they were one of the main authority customers.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a big customer.
We did, the authority did manage to pick up some really good, employees from that company. And, I know that they're really, ecstatic about the, level of staffing, the quality of staffing that they now have available. Some employees came over from the city, not as many as we would have liked, but some did. And they've improved their staffing situation with those people who came over from multi-trade. Other than that, they're moving forward with their, main projects. That is my report, since the last person that you had never came and talked to you about what was going on. Interesting things going on up there, really, with all the projects they're doing. A lot of study on where we intend the numbers to go in the future. But right now, we only have like 45 days worth of data, so it's hard to do projections based on the fact that you don't have much data on which to base your projections. So, a year, it's gonna be a year or 18 months, really. I don't know what you'll hear about the community, what you've heard about how it's going and whatnot. I mean, I understand the people who are outside of the city limits are ecstatic, the people who are inside, maybe not so much. There's a lot of public relations to be done in the future, which we certainly need to deal with. But as far as I can tell, I think they're doing
Are they addressing the water
good
loss?
job. Well, yeah, but that's a multi-year thing. What they're addressing more than anything else, and I'll leave you with this, is not the water so much as it is the sewage. Because the sewage costs a lot more than the water, and that plant down there is severely challenged. So that anytime it's this Dakota Creek plant that's down there, and so anytime, they get a real rain or anything like that, it washes everything out. And that's just, these are like multi-year projects that are gonna be need to solve these problems that have been developing over the last 10, 15 years. So you're looking at least 18 months to get really some adequate numbers to really go by, and then going forward from there. Okay, but,
Yeah, anything on the planning and some, the comprehensive meeting you attended? The public meeting, there's a comprehensive.
the public meeting that the Urbans attended, and, yes, the Urbans were here. With, Bill Turk.
We had
You were-
10
you were
people
here.
here.
You were here, yeah.
There's over on the table, there is, if you haven't taken the survey, we really need
Your input.
response from Tallulah Falls. I mean, it's very heavily responding from Sky Valley and not the rest of the county, and that's gonna skew everything if we don't, it needs to come from all over the county. not
No.
just one area.
David and I we're going to a meeting, virtual meeting Monday at 7 for all the appointed people throughout the county, so we'll hopefully have some update to get back to the town. But we do need the public, please tell everybody
Yeah, I
to
think there's.
do this survey. Thank you for putting that on the marquee, Linda, because it's important.
Yeah, we need to do it because, from what I understood, the Urbans would like to see more, temporary accommodations in town. And while that's fine, I think a lot of us would support that. Not necessarily in an R1 or R2 district.
Well,
We need residential improvements. We need hotels out in the
you're
business.
talking about development in the area, not necessarily where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
The quality of that.
Email reminder, about participating in the survey.
Yeah.
Because we don't have much to report back from the one public meeting. From what you said, it was
No,
pretty heavy swayed one way. And so as your appointees to this meeting on Monday evening,
well, we went over the main things that people are looking for in the community.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can send it again.
Y'all were appointed because I feel like y'all were, y'all know.
Well, we worked on it 5 years ago, so we're 5 years in and now they're doing their, where
We
are
got
we?
the scars from it, we're good.
So I think you already know the direction and actually established the direction that most of us agreed with anyway, so I think you've already got the finger on the pulse.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
Linda, I gave Mike a copy, the copy of the plan that you did for us. Thank you for that. So that you have
Very
not just
helpful.
for us, but for all the municipalities in the county.
And it is on our website too. And it's interesting. It's looking like it.
So,
All right. Unless there are more public comments, we need to, I need to get a motion to go into executive session for basically the umbrella statement of all the legal reasons that we can do executive session.
under the statute,
Yes, by
Yeah.
whatever.
I'll make a motion.
All lawful persons.
all things allowed by the
We are-
statute.
We are most likely gonna cover all of them tonight.
I second the motion.
Who makes the motion?
I won't give
Craig
it.
makes the motion, Scott seconds.
Second it.
All in favor?
All in favor.
Thanks, guys, for all of your work.
Thank you.
Yeah, you still with us, bud?
Good to see you, Ryan.
In favor.
I can give you a shout, Mike, about this,
Yeah, let me, I'll get in touch with you and see, we're right gonna scrap that dang machine anyway, so. I'm gonna step out for a minute while she shuts down our connection. And, yeah, you know,
I'm gonna start seeing.
was.
Mr. Ward. Mr. Ward.